It's considered by many to be the worst angle in professional wrestling history. One where a simple pay-per-view match was turned into a bizarre soap opera that contradicted a well-established backstory, overshadowed a title unification, and made everyone involved look terrible. It's the Ballad of Katie Vick. I'm Senior Siete for 7 Wrestling, and let's take a look at 7 things you didn't know about the Katie Vick angle. And yeah, before we get into this, it's weird to assume I know what you know about Katie Vick, so it is possible that you know all of this stuff. But the majority of this information was pulled from Brian Gewirtz's awesome book, There's Just One Problem. We'll put a link below if you want to pick up a copy. It is well worth your while. Also, if you enjoyed this content, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and super kick that notification bell. Number 1. It started so innocently. It was the fall of 2002 and the WWE had recently performed another brand split. This time with distinct personalities. SmackDown, which is headed up by Kurt Angle, Some Guy, Rey Mysterio, Edge, Eddie Guerrero, and Chavo Guerrero, was known as the Wrestling Show. Known as the SmackDown 6, this sextet was having amazing matches on a weekly basis. Meanwhile, Raw was known as the Wild and Crazy Anything Can Happen Show. And in the build-up to an upcoming Kane vs. Triple H match at No Mercy, they proved this right by having the Big Red Machine single-handedly win a TLC match after his tag team partner, the Hurricane, was injured. And what a match it was, maybe one of the best in Raw history, with teams like Rob Van Dam and Jeff Hardy, Bubba Ray and Spike Dudley, and Christian and Chris Jericho giving it their all on free TV. But that wasn't enough for Vince McMahon. Since Raw was the crazy show, he wanted a cliffhanger to encourage everyone to come back next week. And to hear Brian Gewirtz tell it, McMahon would say, what if, after Kane wins TLC, Triple H comes to the stage and steals his moment? What if he tells Kane he knows his secret? What if Triple H says, Kane, you're a murderer? Wow, that's hot stuff, Vince. The writers were giddy with what Vince had come up with, but when pressed for the rest of the story, the genetic jackhammer simply said, how the hell should I know? You guys are the writers. Figure it out. Number 2, who did Kane murder? Well, from there, the writing staff had to figure out the rest of Vince McMahon's cryptic statement. The only direction that he gave them was that he wanted it to be someone who was innocent and pure. After a brainstorm session, it was decided that it would be a girl named Katie. But what about the last name? Well, former Ravens flock member Sick Boy Scott Vick had recently been signed to the company, and the hope was that when Triple H and Kane were done with their program, Scott Vick could be slotted in and they'd have something to feud over. You know, Scott's pretend deceased sister. Unfortunately for Scott, his in-ring work wasn't quite up to snuff, and he never made it to the main roster. Actually, that might have worked out in his favor. He was able to avoid this dumpster fire. From there, it was decided that Katie was Kane's high school friend who had accidentally been killed in a car accident. They were driving home for a party where Katie had had a few too many drinks when an animal darted in front of the car, and Kane's inexperienced driving stick shift caused him to wreck the car. Sounds legit. Car accidents are one of the leading causes of death in the United States. But there's one problem with it. Number 3, bye-bye backstory. Kane had a high school buddy that he used to go to parties with. Now, is this the same Kane that the WWE had spent the last 4 years telling us had been locked up at a mental institution his entire life? Indeed, it was. Okay, for the uninitiated, we appreciate it's been over 20 years, so here's the quick and dirty of what we had learned about Kane up until this point. He was The Undertaker's half-brother. His real father was Paul Bearer, who had had an affair with The Undertaker's mother. When Taker and Kane were kiddos, The Undertaker intentionally started a fire at the family mortuary that killed both of The Undertaker's parents and left Kane physically and emotionally scarred. Everyone assumed the fire had claimed the life of a young Kane as well, but Paul Bearer had managed to whisk the young crispy critter off to a mental asylum where he would live until such time as Paul Bearer could get revenge on the Demon of Death Valley at Bad Blood 1997 and a Hell in a Cell match with Shawn Michaels. That's gotta be Kane. Well, when confronted with the fact that this new storyline was ignoring all of the previous backstory, Vince was like, yeah, nah. Number 4, Triple H hated it. Okay, maybe we should be clear. A lot of people hated it, but apparently Triple H was the most vocal about it. His wife, Stephanie McMahon, was tasked with writing the promo where Kane would admit that he had been responsible for an imaginary girl's death, and apparently, according to Gewirtz, Stephanie knew it was going to be an all-time train wreck, comparing it to Téa Leoni awaiting her death in the movie Sudden Impact. Kane, who must have a record for terrible WWE angles, I'm looking at you, fake Kane, you too, shocking Shane McMahon's nether regions, Apparently, Kane was visibly shaken all day. But Triple H was beside himself, saying things like, "Why are we doing this? Do you people have any idea where this is going? Does anyone else find this really f***ing stupid?" But apparently, the more people hate something, the more likely Vince is to dig in and make it happen. Oh well, at least the audience hated it too. Number 5. It gets worse. After Kane had given his promo that was met with apathy and what chants from the Montreal crowd, surely this had been the worst thing this audience had ever witnessed, Triple H made his way to the stage and claimed that people at the party had given statements that Kane had been drinking as well. Oh no, now our babyface has been driving while intoxicated. And the cops found beer cans all around the crash. Oh no, now our babyface was literally drinking and driving. And when the doctors performed an autopsy on Katie Vick's body, they found Kane's, bodily fluids. Yeah. Oh, quick aside, apparently Vince McMahon was obsessed with Kane's bodily fluids and insisted that this be included in the segment, with Triple H questioning whether the fluid transfer happened before or after her untimely demise. Oh no! Now our babyface... Oh, yeah, let's move on. Number 6, doubling down. Now, if you weren't around in 2002, take my word for it when I say everybody hated this storyline. But, like we said earlier, that's when Vince is going to dig in his heels. Triple H would continue to torment Kane about this incident, even doing a comedy faux ventriloquist act with a Katie Vick mannequin. But the moment that would take this train wreck over the edge, well, truthfully, we're probably past that point. The low point in this series of low points was when Triple H filmed a parody of him portraying Kane having relations with the Katie Vick mannequin in a coffin in an actual funeral home. Now, this is bad on a creative level, on a real life level, just across the board. It's like a charcuterie board of terrible. Creatively, the segment was punctuated by Triple H scooping a handful of fake brains out of the coffin and exclaiming, "I screwed your brains out." And to hear Gewirtz tell the story, Vince McMahon was practically in tears from laughing as he plotted this moment out. And yikes, this definitely crosses over from the bad guy wrestler sure is a bad guy to what am I doing with my life watching this garbage? I'm going to start watching baking shows. But it was also terrible on a real life level because they used a real life funeral parlor for the segment. A real life parlor that had an actual funeral taking place down the hall. Although we could be way off on this one. Maybe Grandpa wanted to go to his heavenly reward while the cerebral assassin was pretending to make a moray to a mannequin in a cheerleader costume. You can never be 100% sure. Number 7, a hilarious ending. So yes, this was terrible, and yes, this absolutely overshadowed a match that was unifying the New World Championship with the very popular Intercontinental Championship, but at least Kane wasn't alone. His storyline brother, The Undertaker, was going through an equally terrible angle over on SmackDown, where Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar had accused the Demon of Death Valley of having an affair with a random woman named Tracy. But Tracy still had a pulse, so it was definitely an improvement over what was going on over at Raw. So, to inject some levity into this nightmare, Gewirtz pitched a cold open to the pay-per-view where Kane would have a seat next to The Undertaker and simply ask, "So, how was your week?" Way to make lemonade out of lemons, fellas. Like, maybe the tiniest bit of lemonade ever from like a million lemons. Needless to say, once the pay-per-view was over, the WWE never mentioned Katie Vick again. Well, there's our list. Did we leave out any weird facts from the Katie Vick debacle? If so, leave them in the comment section below. Also, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and screw the brains out of the notification bell. Until next time, I'm Senior Siete for Savin Wrestling saying bye-bye.